I'm David Poe. Welcome to the Painting Channel. It's been a while since I made one of these videos, as some of you may have noticed. Had different things going on in my life, so I wasn't able to do that. Today I'm in the studio. You see I've got a little bit of a different setup. Got my cart here, got my glass palette, got colors today. Let's go over those. CAD yellow light, we've got CAD red light, we've got ultramarine blue, we've got ivory black, and we've got titanium white. I'm going to show you how, and over here is just some other wasted paint that we may be able to use to gray down some of the other mixtures today. Of course, I got one palette knife. This is a diamond shaped palette knife. Nothing special. As far as brushes we're using today, these are primarily Utrecht. They are Series 209, starting with the number 8. We'll also use the number 6, number 4. Then to that I add two synthetic brushes. This is Princeton Aspen number 2 round. And then also the Princeton Aspen number 2 liner brush. Using Gamsol as both my cleaner as well as my medium, which is over here. Got some shop towels that I'll be using to make clean away the mistakes. The canvas today I am using is a 11 by 14. This is the brand I've been using lately. It's called US Art Supply Liberty Series 100% cotton canvas. The part that I was looking for was archival quality. So this is supposed to be archival quality. I hope it is. And it's relatively cheap. It's sold in packs of 12. And so if you're looking for something rather inexpensive but pretty good quality, you might want to try this. We're going to paint from our imagination today. So I don't really know to start with what I'm going to do. I'm just going to kind of put some marks down and see what happens. I'm going to dip my brush first in the Gamsol. This is the number 4 brush. Hopefully you can see my mixtures. I'm going to put most of my mixtures right in the middle. Like I said, we're using a very limited palette today. I'm going to start off for the drawing purposes by getting a little bit of ultramarine blue, a little bit of the CAD red light, to mix a dark purple. This purple really leans towards the red family, so I'm going to add a little bit more of the ultramarine blue in it. There we go. And we want this to be rather soupy. You don't want to put this on very strong because we're going to be painting over this layer. All right, so I'm going to just take and remove some of the extra off of that for a second. Sometimes I use the palette knife to mix. I should use that. But I've gotten in such a habit of using the brush sometimes that I kind of get started and quit. All right. Now, probably you've watched some other videos by now and know that your subject matter, we need to be careful of looking at the canvas in thirds. So a third down here, a third down here, and then across and across. And in the middle square that's formed is where the subject matter should be, in one of those 4 corners. So I'm conscious of that. Even though I'm painting from my imagination, I still want to make sure that we don't cut this into half, and that really will make you feel like it's a flag or that something's off. So we don't want to do that. And we don't want to put our focal point too far to one side or the other side. All right, so I'm just kind of thinking about what type of painting. I think this is going to be primarily a tree painting today, perhaps. So I'm going to just take this, and notice that holding the brush near the end will help you to loosen up. And sitting away from the canvas itself, as you notice, I'm behind my palette, and I have to extend to reach the actual canvas. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. So thinking about landscape, we always need to have a horizon line. So horizon line is going to go about here, I guess. I'm thinking about some way to bring folks into the painting. And so oftentimes we read, at least in Western societies, from left to right. And so I'm thinking they were coming in this way. So I wanted to make some marks that might bring me and the viewer into the painting. So let's just put some marks. I'm just kind of playing around right now. Don't know exactly if I'm going to like anything that I come up with. That's a little bit random, so I think that's not too bad. Maybe this will be a road, maybe there'll be a stream or something. Of course, these corners are way too strong, these edges, but we'll soften them later. So I'm kind of seeing this shape kind of pulling me along. Over here will be the focal point. So we want it to be some tree forms. So I'm going to put some of those tree forms in. Let's see. And when I'm thinking of tree forms, I'm kind of thinking of the darks. Just kind of playing around for a second. There might be a row of trees coming from this side. Of course, the trees will be darker and larger, closer to the edge of the canvas, and then the vanishing points in this area here by the focal point, I do believe. So we're going to sketch that in just a little bit. And notice I'm not very precise because I am, of course, going to kind of come back in over this. And I'm noticing that it's very, very blue, but this dark mixture, but that might work. So we're going to leave it alone at this point. I also want to look and make sure that our strokes are not always the same. I want to provide some variety. All right, what do we want here as our focal point? Maybe we might have a little house over here. So sketch in a little house maybe in this area. A couple of shapes for some trees. Near this house. And maybe we got some trees behind the house. So we'll put a few marks indicating that at this point. And we'll extend it all the way over here. So that way we've got plenty of things to look at there. All right, so we've got a simple kind of a road. We've got a house. And then we got some sky. Now for the sky, we're going to, I'm not going to draw in the sky because with this dark color that might show through the other layer. So I don't think I want to do that yet. So we basically have a rough idea, a rough sketch of shapes that also have a focal point. Right here at this edge is going to be the focal point. It's got the thirds. We're not taking up the middle, and it's not too close to the side. It's right about where that magic kind of square is, if you will. I'm not sure what we call that actually, but anyway, it's not right in the middle of the canvas either. So, all right, I think I like that, and we can always make a few adjustments later on, but it gives me a general idea of where I'm going. All right, so I'm going to clean off this brush. And you can just take the towel and you just kind of pull the paint off of it. You don't always have to clean with the mineral spirits or your Gamsol, so keep that in mind. I'm going to set this aside because that was the brush I used for my darks. there's a lot of sky, so I'm going to use the number 8 brush. I'm going to use primarily titanium white. I'm grabbing a big plump of it. And I'm going to use some of that blue that we just used for the drawing to create a light shade of blue. So the sky color is going to be one of the colors that on the value scale, let me see if I can show this to you, it's going to be one of our lighter colors. So if you wanted to use this all the time, you can kind of, that looks like it's a value of, when I squint, looks like it's about an 8 or a 7. Of course, those blues that we just put on there, yeah, it's almost our darkest value, about a 1 or a 2. All right, and it's the values that are really going to make the painting pop. And because we are using such a limited palette, we will have color harmony, because we're essentially going to be using almost every color in a mixture with all three of them. So, all right, so I'm going to start first kind of close to where the tree line is, and then I'm going to work, as I work up, it's going to get a little darker. So I don't want to, so I don't really want to cover up those trees yet, because I don't know what I'm really doing yet. But I do want to pop in this light around it. And in fact, what I'm actually doing is giving myself some room so that I can grow those trees without having to worry about painting over top of other paint or thick paint. So I'm just kind of sketching that in right over top, not bearing down too much. Now, one thing, because I'm using such a small panel that I would use outdoors, you will find that an easel like this, it's just got a center bar, and so what I've done is I put a bigger panel behind it to keep it from moving too much. But I also didn't want to just use the holder, because then you get a terrible shadow for the video. So anyway, that's why I'm doing it this way. And see, I think I'm kind of liking this, because it's very close to the color of what we just used for the drawing, and it just kind of looks like it goes together. So I kind of like that. Now, a lot of artists will tell you that one side of the sky is usually a little lighter and one is darker. And that kind of helps indicate where is the sun coming from. So I'm thinking that the sun is actually coming from over here, and it's going to focus over in this area around my focal point. All right. So in essence, the sun's going to be directing its rays this way, so it's actually going to be a little darker in this corner and a little bit lighter over here. So I need this lighter color to expand a little higher in the sky to give that impression. Don't have to be too careful with this. And notice, of course, as I'm reaching, it's a little awkward. I wouldn't normally paint like this, other than I want to make sure that you can see the canvas and everything I'm doing, and hopefully see some of the mixtures I'm making today. All right, I think that's good. Now, in that same puddle of titanium white and blue, I'm going to add some more titanium white to that puddle of color. I'm going to add more of the ultramarine blue, but start very slowly. You can always add more. There we go. So when I squint, that's it's actually closer together with the value of that than I thought it was. Put a little bit more into it. But that's okay. We don't want it to, I don't really want the top portion of the sky to pop out. I want it to be basically the same value, but just a little bit greater color intensity. All right? Okay. And once again, something that I like to do is, as I'm putting the extra, I'm going to leave a band of the canvas exposed. And we'll come back to that in just a minute. So. And think of this as many artists do. This is the underpainting. We're just trying to get the idea of what we're trying to accomplish done. Our drawing, the predominant colors that we want in terms of values. Sky being the lightest, land being the second lightest, and then usually anything that is standing up, that's vertical, that's going to be your darkest colors. All right. Okay, so you see how I left just kind of a little bit of a band there. Now, what are we going to do about that? Well, next, once again, you don't have to clean off your brush and use that Gamsol all the time. Just pull off the remaining paint from your brush like this. Just push it off of there. And especially for this brush we're going to use for the sky. And I wanted to get it kind of dry. Just want to get as much of that paint off there as possible. Now, with this dry brush, I like to hold it like this, kind of like, with that end like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to blend the two colors together. And by being out here, and then I'm just going to kind of crisscross motion so that I can perhaps get some interesting shapes or movements there. And say I didn't want it to be a line. Let me scoot this painting over here. I didn't want you to see a line when it's done, so I'm going to pull those colors up and down. Now, it's good to stop once in a while because your dry brush is going to pick up some of that paint. Just pull that paint back off of there. And we're going to mix it together. All right, so looking at it, I don't think it's too bad. Like I said, this is just the underpainting. We can go back again and make some refinements of these shapes. But now, since I was kind of doing that, I'm going to kind of pull these colors down quickly. Pull that color off the brush. So I got the sky all colored already with a little bit of change in those colors. And if you squint, it's really hard to see that there's a different color there or color intensity. But certainly as you open your eye, you can see that the color has changed, but the intensity has, the value has not changed. All right, now we're going to dispense with this for a moment, and we're going to put our attention all on the dark. Let me get my dark brush. I was using this number 4. We'll just keep using the number 4. Now, I got these tree masses, so I want to make those fairly dark. and of course they need to be green. So what options do we have? Well, using a limited palette really helps out because you don't have to struggle. You know what's going to be the two colors you have to use. You have to use the ultramarine blue, and you've got to use the cad yellow light. So put that in there, and I want it to be pretty dark, so I don't want to use a whole lot of cadmium yellow in it. Let me scoop up a bunch of this ultramarine blue and make that dark. And here I want to tone this green down a little bit so it's not like a Crayola crown, but I'm going to put some of that cad red into it, and that's going to give us a nice dark green, but a little bit less intense. Or what I like to say is that this green looks more like a natural green that you would find in nature, as opposed to if you just use the two colors, it kind of looks like, well, it just kind of looks boring to me. All right, now with this brush fully loaded, don't be afraid of the paint. I want to dip it in the Gamsol, and we're going to thin it out because your dark colors, it's very difficult to go on top of it if they're thick. So make sure that your pool of color here is pretty thin. And in order to do that, I'm going to try to get that rest of that paint off my brush as much as possible. Then I'm going to go ahead and pull that color off before I put it on the canvas. And once again, I've mixed the color without the palette knife. Oh well. Do as you wish. Now also I need to make sure you don't use a paper towel too often. I've saturated that one with my darks, so I need to get another piece of towel ready to go once I need it for this. All right. So I'm going to now kind of put this in. Now, I'm not going to cover up all of that dark blue. I kind of think that's pretty. So we're going to leave some of that as our darkest darks, but on the edges of it, I'm going to come over top with this green. And vary some of the brush strokes at this point in time. And when you squint, your eyes should not really be able to tell the difference between whether it's blue or green. And even as I'm putting this over, I'm not going to go into my sky. I want to make sure that I've got room to play with some details on the tops of these trees and such. I am going to color in over top of these darks. Okay. Once again, you don't have to be too careful. Just the underpainting, so got lots more to come. Making sure that it's fairly light. In other words, I'm not using a lot of paint, not at this stage. In case I make a mistake, I can go back in over it. Here I want to be a little careful. I want to make sure that my house stays white at this point. We're probably going to use some kind of a red so it will really stand out. Draw your eye to it next to all this bold green. Now would be a good time for an internal commercial. If you like my channel, if you enjoy some of these videos and really want me to continue to do them, give a thumbs up, subscribe, share it on your own channels. That would be wonderful. what brand of paint am I using? Today, it's all Utrecht. That is kind of the house brand for Blick artist supplies. So if you're wanting to get the same colors exactly, you can do that. But I wouldn't be too concerned about that. Try different brands. Of course, every brand's a little different in terms of its color. And don't feel like you have to get the same brand for every color. You really do not. Most artists do not do that at all. They will have their favorites that they use. So keep that in mind. All right, so now I've got my darkest dark in the painting over top of the drawing as I'm kind of working. And oftentimes I do that. I work from the top and go down. Excuse me. I like to get the sky in because the sky, I'm relatively confident that I can do a nice job of that. That gives me some encouragement as I move through the painting that I'm going to be able to do this. So, all right. Now, we've already got this pile of green here. And we're going to put the grass in. But here's one. There's another way you could do it. We could either think of this as the earth, and we could put some browns in first, or if we were drawing burnt sienna, it looks good. Put some of that down first, then go over top of it with the green. Today I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead in with my lighter green. It's got to be lighter than this in value, and then over top of it we'll put some nuances. Okay, so first we're going to make that light green mixture with some CAD light into that green pile. And remember, in this green pile, we already had those two colors, and we added the CAD red light. Just a little bit more CAD red light into that mix to take some of that saturation out. And you don't even have to mix it all in there. Okay, I'll put a little, just little dabs of that. You don't want to turn it to another color at this point, so. All right, I like that. I think that's about what I'm looking for. Okay, mixing that in, and now to apply the paint with it. I'm still using the number 4 brush, by the way. We could go to a number 6, but I like to start with the colors that are farther back and build forward. So to make it look as if it's closer to the viewer, you might want to try a larger brush and larger brush strokes closer to the edge towards the viewer, and use a smaller brush to put your first layer in. Let me show you how I'm going to do that now. So we're gonna, and once again, I'm purposely making sure that my marks are being used with my whole hand and not, so I can't be extremely careful, and especially when the board's moving like that, but that's okay too. What did Bob Ross call it? Happy accidents. And I think it might be nice to have this as like it's a little hill. And so I'm going to try to use my strokes themselves to kind of convey that this is a hill going up. All right. Now back here, going to be kind of a straight line. Once again, I can kind of, because this is a little bit thicker paint I'm using here, and kind of sculpt that a little bit. All right, still want to make sure that that road is not covered. That's going to be lighter than this green. Get this as well. Oops. I'm going to, I was using the brush like this. Now I'm going to use it like this. So it'll be a little larger strokes. And as it's coming towards the viewer, we can add a little bit more yellow. At least that's what I'm going to try here. Not enough to totally change the color, but a little bit of variety, even at this stage for this underpainting, I think would be nice. Okay, so I think I've got what I want. And notice, if you are a beginner, there's nothing hard about this. And the more you paint, the better you will get. And don't be afraid to experiment, to take a few pictures from around places that are near you that you enjoy. And that's how you begin to develop your own style. Are you getting a sense of the color harmony? Because we've been using just the 3 colors. How they all sort of go together. Don't worry about the edges at this point. I like to do my edges at the end. Kevin McPherson does that sometimes. What he recommends is something that I have noticed that I kind of like to do as well. Get the big shapes on the canvas with some paint, and then later on you can manipulate that paint to work on the edges. And so until you get all that the underpainting on there, it's kind of futile to waste a bunch of time trying to put a bunch of details on there yet. All right, so now you see we're very close to the viewer, and I want to step up the color a little bit more. So I'm going to add more of this cad yellow. And I want to put a little of that red in there. So it's kind of a yellow ochre right now. Let's see what that looks like. And then to test it, just put a little spot on there. Okay, that's different, but it's certainly, if you squint, you can't see the difference. I'm going to add just a little bit more. So we're going to put that there. There we go. So we're going to add that in. The family's home today if you hear the stomping upstairs. Oh, I'm doing a painting video. Haven't done one for quite a while, so there we go. So you see that there's a little distinction between this color and the other paintings, but not enough to draw attention to it, because I don't want to draw your eye down to this corner. That's the last thing I want. I want your eye to always go to the focal point, which is that little simple house there. All right, I got this drive. I think maybe a few strokes over here in that grass will accomplish the same thing that I was trying for. Just kind of go over top of it. All right, now we got almost the whole thing covered. Cleaning off my brush once again with my paper towel. And now we got a decision to make. What color is this road going to be? Is it going to be kind of a gray pavement road? Is it more of a path? Wilderness-like? Well, once again, since we got these on there, what I am going to do, I'm going to trade to my sky brush. I'm going to use this blue pile. And we want kind of a neutral. So how do we get a neutral out of these three colors, ivory, black, and white? You'll notice I don't use a lot of ivory black to darken it. It's kind of there just in case I need it. I can actually use just the three colors in white. I may actually end up doing that. All right, so we got the white. I'm going to add some yellow to it. Maybe too much yellow. A little bit of the red. So now we got kind of a yellowish brown. Now I'm going to add a little bit of the titanium white, and look what happens. Isn't that a nice color there? Kind of like a path color. Now I've got a decision to make. If I want to make it gray, I can add more blue in it. Let's add a little bit more blue into it. See how that's a greenish gray right now? And if I add a little bit more of that ultramarine blue, I can change that green to more of a bluish green. And add a little bit of the cad red light. To take away some of that green. And by doing this, you're going to learn how to make every color that you need. All right, so now that's clearly a gray. Now I could have used a shortcut. I could have used ivory black and my titanium white. But whenever possible, I would stay away from the ivory black for those types of mixtures. You're going to have much richer paintings if you use your primary colors and just find something from there. All right, now I'm going to add a lot of the titanium white to just a corner of it, like this. Brush it in. And this is going to be my lighter gray that I'm going to stick as close as I can back by the building. As things recede, remember, they tend to get lighter and they tend to get darker or brighter up front. So this is a lighter value. If you squint, you can kind of see that already. This is much different, much lighter even than this. Not by a whole lot, but by a little bit. So we're gonna, here I want to make sure that I get it right the first time. All right. And I'm gonna indicate that there's maybe a streak going all the way that way. There's something. Okay. And now, I'm going to wipe that off again. Now I'm going to use this darker gray color. Put some Yamsol, make it thin. I don't want to cover up all of those lines, I think. I want to leave a few of my original design lines there for the moment. There we go. That row comes in from the side. All right. So now our underpainting is about done. Still keeping with this number 8 brush. Always good to work with the biggest size brush that you can get away with. It'll keep you from being too detail oriented. All right, so this little shadow there looks pretty good, but I'm gonna bring some of that paint. It's already on the canvas up. To cover some of that up. Same now for here. Let's soften the harshness of those lines. I'm wiping my brush off again. Here again, I want to soften those lines, but I don't want to just totally destroy them. They kind of work as some shadow effects on that road. There we go. And I think I'm going to soften that edge just a little bit there. Okay. All right. Now, the only thing that's left for the underpainting is the color of that house. We are going to make it a sort of off-gray white. So I'm going to use the smallest brush I got, and this time I'm going to actually clean it. Wipe that brush off. And since I want that to be my focal point, I want it to be a very, very light gray. So I'm going to take some more of the titanium white into our gray mixture here. I don't want to go straight in with titanium white because even though it is a strong white on that house, I suspect, it's picking up other colors. It's not going to be, and it'll read as very white when we put it on there. And I'm going to, it's going to be this wall right there. I'm going to pull that color off because I pulled some of the blue off, so I don't want to contaminate my mixture at this point. Go back in with a little bit more of that color. There we go. And then now we're going to make a little bit darker gray here. We're going to use the gray that's on the road for that. And I'm going to get the side of this building. Okay. And then we're gonna, let's put a red roof on that thing. I'll use the CAD red light. I'll make a spot over here with it. I want to dull that a little bit, so I'm going to just take a little bit of the ultramarine blue, not much, to dull that red down a little bit. I think that looks pretty good right there. I don't think we have to go any further. And now I'm going to put that kind of a roof on there. And I'll do that one more time. Put it there, and I'm going to leave it alone. All right, now over here it's going to be a little bit darker. So I'm going to put a little bit more ultramarine blue into that mixture. Not much, just a little bit. And now I'm going to come back in here. There we go. All right. And most little houses have some windows, so next little detail that we're gonna, I think I'll go ahead and put it in now, is to, getting my hands all dirty. Take that brush again. Also going to show you that you don't have to have small brushes to do the details. So I'm going to wash this brush out pretty well. And remember our dark mixture. I'm going to go back in with some ultramarine blue, a little bit of our CAD red light to create a dark purple. And I'm just going to get the tip of that brush nice and full, and I'm going to put a couple of windows on this side. Maybe one back here. Just putting it down and pulling just a little bit to get the sense of it. And here we're going to put a third one. Just seems like it needs it. And then let go. There we go. I think that's all we're going to do with that. Simple little shape. Give us the idea that there's something going on there. What do you think? All right, now the underpainting is finished. Now we're going to go in with some details. So this is also the time, if I wasn't doing a video, I might take a break. Just sit and look at it for a while and see if there was anything else I needed to do. But I think I'm okay. Now, the sky is kind of plain. So I think I want to put some clouds up there. So I'm going to make some space here on the palette. Just going to scrape away the grays we've been using. You can even put them down there in case I need them. Take a little bit of my titanium white. And this is going to be too cold to use for clouds. So I'm going to take a little bit of the CAD yellow light, not much. That's probably even too much. Just a little bitty bit. That's probably even too much. Now we'll put that in our mixture. So clouds are picking up that sunlight, right? There we go. That's kind of this creamy white color that's going to stand out. Give it some warmth. Don't need much of it. Don't need much of it. All right, then I'm going to take this number 4 brush again that we've been using. I'm going to go ahead and load it up with that color. And now, what I would recommend is don't try to make a cloud look like a cloud. I want you to think about making it just dabs of color and be as creative and let loose as much as you want, depending on what your thing is. I would remind yourself of this, that anything really interesting you want near this. Okay, so more clouds and such around your focal point will help draw the viewer over here. We don't want a tremendously detailed cloud over here. It's going to fight for attention, all right? So we're going to start with just a few little impressions of clouds over here. I want them in there, but I don't want them to be the star of the show. I'm barely touching the sky here. Right away, I'm noticing I need to make a bigger pile of this color. So more titanium white, add in that yellow that I have there. Get that color back. There we go. Now maybe we put some clouds in this way. Of course, as the clouds go back, they get smaller, right? So if we got some back here, they're not going to be as detailed. And like I said, we're going to make it more interesting clouds over this way. Just barely touching the canvas here. Take your time. Be patient. And you want it to be, you don't want it to look mechanical. You want it to look like, not like God would design it, not like you would design it. You want to vary your strokes as much as you can. We will have it kind of disappear over here. You also don't want anything too interesting over here, which will lead the viewer right off the canvas. Okay, now one thing we can do with that is that we can soften it just a little bit if we don't want it to be that detailed. So I'm going to take this brush here, I'm going to clean it up. Let's see, do I want the largest brush? Yeah, I probably want the largest brush. So I'm going to take the largest brush I got, which is the number 8, and clean this off really well. Here you really have to be careful. Make sure that it's pretty well cleaned off. I don't want to get it contaminated with any other colors, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a dry brush technique. If you have I do have this chip brush, but I don't really like to do it with those. I don't know why, I just don't. Other people find it okay. So I'm going to take this dry brush and I'm just going to kind of play with those shapes a little bit in the clouds to soften them a little bit. Sometimes I just tap them like this so I can take some of those harsh edges off. Just like this. See what I'm doing? Ooh, I think I like that, huh? What do you think? Same way here. I'm gonna tap it a little bit. Some of that's going to come back onto my brush. That's fine. Just tap, 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 tap. Moving some of that around just a little bit. Then once in a while, take and remove that paint that's been picked up onto your brush. Once again, you want the You want the darkest or the most significant ones closer to your focal point, so you may not have to do as much right around there. I want that to be stronger. Here, I want to lighten this part out so that it's not hurting anything. There we go. Look at that. Now, what time of the day is it? We could add some pinks to it. We could add some more color to these clouds. I kind of like it the way it is, though. So I think I'm going to just stick with that. So that's created, I think, enough detail up there. And that's not really the focal point. It's not the clouds. It's going to be this little house. So now I want to come in with some more light on these trees. So we got our darkest dark on the trees, but as the sun's coming down and hitting some of the tops of them, it's going to be a little bit of a different tonal shift in that color. And so that's what we're going to be looking at now, is getting some different colors into the trees. We've separated from some of these other colors, and we got to be very careful that we don't bleed too much into them as we grow our trees and give them some shape. Let me check on our time right now. Yep, we're at the hour mark. I hope you've enjoyed it so far. And I never really start a video thinking, okay, this is going to be a 45-minute video, or, oh, this is going to be an hour video. However long it takes me to paint the painting is how long it takes me to paint the painting. So, and people have told me that they like the longer content so they can see everything. So I hope that maybe that's one of the reasons why you're watching. Okay, so now let's get into it. So I've got these 3 green piles already here. This middle one was the grass, of course. So this is a good starting point, I think. We're going to add a little bit of the ultramarine blue to it. So that we're using this pile and we're just turning it into another shade. Clearly that's different than those two, and different than the dark. But we don't want it to be too different than the dark of the trees, otherwise it's going to look weird. Most of the time, when the sun comes down like that, the shift is very, very subtle. And I think that might just do it. So I continue to work on the palette. I'm going to put more of the, I need more paint there. And then I need to add a little bit of the yellow until I get it back to that lighter green color. There we go. Ooh, I think that will be good. And I'm going to pull that green off of there. But for this one, I think I'm going to use a little smaller brush. I'm going to use a 6. Why? I just feel like it. All right, so I'm going to dip that in there. And now I'm going to start over here. And I'm just going to kind of put some shapes on there. See how that's picking up the white? That's what we got to be careful of. So I'm going to get another piece of towel here. And I'm going to, once in a while, I'm going to remove that. Pull it into it a little bit. Pull that white off of there. Mix a little bit more. Moving that brush around a little bit can create different shapes, of course. Trying to vary the stroke so it's not. And I also want to come in on some of the darker shades and put a few of these lighter spots. Help those trees come to life. There we go. A little bit more color here. See, I'm just pressing it now. I mean, a few different shapes. See how I'm varying the shape so that way hopefully it reads as being a little bit different. And I'm using that same color again and going back in and put a few little areas where there's some light touching some of this down below. Okay. So we've now taken care of the tree line, although there's a couple places where that blue is really coming and popping out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to note that right now and maybe soften those areas. I'm going to come back in and take care of some of that with some darker purple after we get everything else done. All right. Now we need a little bit of variety in here. And these grasses. There's going to be patches of some dirt that are coming by. When you have such a green painting like this, it's always good to have some reds. So we've got the red roof. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put a little bit of the red, CAD red light into our pile over here. And then some of the ultramarine blue. That's going to give us a kind of purple again. Add some of the CAD yellow light. That turns it back to a brown. And then I add just a little bit of titanium white, not much. We don't want to kill it too much. All right. And it is really brown right now, so I'm going to change that. Probably too much red. Put some red back in there. There we go. Some rich red would be good. All right, that's a little bit more interesting. All right, now I'm taking some and loading the brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to help the viewer see some of the contour lines. This is a hill, right? So holding on to the brush like this, I'm going to just barely touching that canvas and moving some of those colors around in that grass. Not much, just a little bit. Same thing here. Maybe this is kind of a straight plane, so we're gonna put a couple of those details there. Maybe a couple over here. Once again, these are kind of leading our attention over to the focal point. Same way up front. Yeah. There we go. Just a few little accents. Right? Clean my brush off again. Take an inventory of the picture. See what is needed. Now, I did say I was going to go back in with some darker darks. So, mix up a little of that ultramarine blue again with a little bit of the cad red light. A little bit more. Get a really deep dark purple. And sorry if you were an ivory black fan. I just didn't use it today. What can I say? Just kind of pushing that. In a few places. To emphasize the dark shadows. All right. Now I could put some sky holes in. I don't know that I want to though today. I kind of like it right here. Always difficult to figure out, is this the end of the painting? Is there something else I could do to make it better? Looking at it from a distance can help us to kind of figure that out and see if there's enough interest in it. And I think I like it enough to leave it alone. At least I can change it, make it different, but I'm not quite sure what to do to change it right now. And that creates a danger because I can always change it too much and kill the creation that I just made. So I think that's going to be it. I'm just going to sign it. And I use, let's see, where is that? I use this little rubber piece to sign that. So I'm going to sign it over here. We read left to right, so oftentimes you'll want to sign your paintings over here. There we go. Once again, this is David Poe. You've been watching my painting channel. I thank you for your time and attention. If you like the quality of this video, please subscribe and pass it along, share it with others, and push the like button. I appreciate it. I'll see you in the next video.